Former President Donald Trump has reignited global tensions by threatening sweeping tariffs on the UK and 7 European nations unless they dramatically increase defense spending and align more closely with US interests in the Arctic, focusing especially on Greenland. This unexpected move has sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, as Trump's demands go far beyond traditional trade disputes, directly tying economic cooperation to military and geopolitical support in one of the world's most sensitive regions. Speaking from his Mar-a-Lago estate, Trump's ultimatum links access to the lucrative US market with strategic cooperation in the High North, targeting the economic heart of Europe. He's making it clear that future trade deals will depend on Europe's willingness to stand with the US in Arctic affairs, raising the stakes for transatlantic relations. This bold maneuver puts Greenland, a region of rapidly growing military and economic significance, at the very center of a new transatlantic standoff. Once seen as a remote, icy outpost, Greenland is now emerging as a critical battleground for influence between global powers. Trump frames the issue as a matter of urgent national security, accusing Europe of complacency and of neglecting both their defense commitments and the Arctic's immense strategic value. He argues that without stronger European support, the West risks losing ground to rival powers in the region. The immediate reaction has been one of alarm in global markets and diplomatic circles, with fears of a renewed US-Europe trade war and escalating tensions that could disrupt the global economy. Investors and policymakers alike are scrambling to assess the potential fallout. Trump's threat forces a dramatic reevaluation of Greenland's role, transforming it from a distant outpost into a pivotal chess piece in the great power competition of the 21st century. The island's resources, location, and strategic value are now under intense international scrutiny. As the world watches, the question is clear: what is Trump's ultimate endgame, and how will Europe respond to this unprecedented pressure? Will they stand firm, or will they make concessions to avoid economic fallout? The stage is set for a high-stakes confrontation with global consequences, as the future of transatlantic relations and the fate of the Arctic hangs in the balance. Once seen as a frozen wilderness, Greenland is now a critical nexus of global interests, driven by climate change and Arctic competition. Melting ice has made the island's strategic location, between North America and Europe, more valuable than ever, guarding vital sea lanes and serving as a military gateway. With Russia and China ramping up Arctic ambitions, Greenland's role in Western defense is indispensable. Beneath the ice, vast reserves of rare earth minerals, key to modern technology, offer the West a chance to break China's supply chain dominance. The US Geological Survey has identified major deposits, making Greenland a potential economic game-changer. Meanwhile, new Arctic shipping routes promise to reshape global trade, with Greenland's ports poised to become essential hubs. Whoever secures influence over these routes and resources will gain a decisive strategic edge. Greenland is no longer just ice. It's the front line of 21st century power politics. America's interest in Greenland is deep-rooted, stretching far beyond recent headlines and political debates. The fascination dates back to the 19th century, when the US first attempted to purchase the vast, icy island from Denmark, recognizing its unique position and untapped potential. After World War II, President Truman famously offered Denmark $100 million in gold for Greenland, understanding its immense value as a strategic outpost and a bulwark against growing Soviet threats during the Cold War. Although Denmark refused the offer, the US established Thule Air Base, now known as Pituffik Space Base, cementing Greenland's critical role in American and NATO defense strategies for decades to come. Today, the base remains vital for missile defense, early warning systems, and space surveillance, making it a linchpin in the US military's Arctic operations. When President Trump floated the idea of buying Greenland in 2019, the proposal was widely mocked and became a late-night punchline, but it actually echoed a long-standing, bipartisan strategic goal: to secure and expand US access to the increasingly important Arctic region. Today, with Russia reopening Arctic military bases and China investing heavily in Greenlandic infrastructure, Washington's concerns about losing influence in the region have only intensified. China's push for mining rights and scientific research is viewed by many as a potential backdoor to greater strategic influence in the Arctic. For U.S. strategists, keeping Greenland firmly within the Western orbit is now seen as a national security imperative, essential for maintaining balance in the Arctic. As global powers compete for resources and influence, the island's fate has become a flashpoint in the escalating contest for Arctic dominance, with implications that reach far beyond its icy shores. The Arctic's dramatic transformation is opening up new shipping lanes and revealing vast, untapped resources, making Greenland an increasingly strategic prize on the world stage. As the polar ice recedes, the region is becoming more accessible than ever before, drawing the attention of global powers and major corporations alike. Melting ice has made the legendary Northwest Passage and the Northern Sea Route viable for commercial shipping, slashing transit times between Asia, Europe, and North America by thousands of miles. What was once a frozen barrier is now a potential superhighway for global trade, promising faster, more efficient routes for cargo ships. Greenland's extensive coastline borders these emerging routes, positioning its ports as critical hubs for the future of international commerce and shipping logistics. Control over these vital hubs means holding leverage over the world's shipping arteries, influencing the flow of goods and resources across continents. Beneath the ice, Greenland holds vast reserves of oil, natural gas, and especially rare earth elements, resources that are vital for high-tech industries, renewable energy, and modern defense systems. The United States sees investment in Greenland's mining sector as both a lucrative economic opportunity and a strategic move to counter China's dominance in critical minerals. Mining companies and foreign governments are already vying for access, intertwining economic ambitions with geopolitical strategy as they compete for influence and resources. Washington is determined to ensure that Greenland's development aligns with Western priorities, working to block rivals from gaining a strategic foothold in the Arctic. The race for Arctic resources is accelerating, and Greenland now stands at the very center of this unfolding global competition. Trump's tariff threat is classic America first, using economic pain to force allies' hands on defense and Arctic policy. Tariffs on European cars, luxury goods, and agriculture could devastate key industries, creating political pressure in Berlin, Paris, and beyond. The calculation Europe's exporters will suffer more than U.S. consumers, pushing leaders to concede rather than risk a trade war. But this high-risk strategy could backfire. Europe could retaliate, sparking a tit-for-tat conflict that hurts both economies. Such moves erode trust, undermine the global trading system, and risk driving allies closer to rivals like China. Trump's approach treats allies as adversaries, weaponizing trade to achieve geopolitical aims. The fallout could reshape alliances and global markets for years to come. Europe's response to Trump's ultimatum has been swift. Public outrage, private anxiety. Leaders in Berlin and Paris denounce the threat as blackmail, vowing not to be bullied into submission. Yet behind closed doors, officials scramble to assess the economic damage and prepare for possible retaliation. The German auto industry, French luxury goods, and Italian fashion all face major risks if tariffs hit. The threat exposes divisions within Europe. Some nations urge defiance, others quietly consider concessions to preserve U.S. security ties. Trump's gambit is designed to exploit these cracks, hoping to fracture European unity. Many Europeans argue they've increased defense spending and contributed to global security, calling Trump's demands a pretext for U.S. power plays in the Arctic. The alliance faces a test of solidarity as economic and strategic interests collide. Trump's Greenland gambit strikes at NATO's core, turning mutual defense into a transactional bargain. By tying economic penalties to military cooperation, he risks transforming allies into clients, undermining trust built over 75 years. The timing is perilous. NATO faces a resurgent Russia and new threats from China, making unity more vital than ever. Trump's approach sows doubt about America's reliability, prompting calls in Europe for greater strategic autonomy. France and Germany may push for a stronger EU defense policy, potentially weakening NATO's unified front. The credibility of Article 5, the alliance's collective defense pledge, now faces unprecedented strain. The ultimate danger, a fractured alliance, less able to deter aggression or respond to global crises. Amid the power struggle, Greenlanders assert their own voice. The government in Nuuk firmly rejects any notion of being for sale, emphasizing self-determination and control over their future. For Greenland's 57,000 people, global attention brings both opportunity and risk. Investment could fuel independence, but also threatens their environment and culture. The government seeks partners for development, but insists on terms that benefit Greenlanders, not foreign powers. There's deep concern about becoming a pawn in a superpower rivalry, trading one dependency for another. Greenland is building its own diplomatic presence, determined to shape its destiny amid the Arctic storm. As global powers debate, Greenland demands a seat at the table and a say in its own future. Trump's Greenland ultimatum is more than a headline. It's a turning point in transatlantic relations. By weaponizing trade to force Arctic alignment, he's testing the foundations of the Western alliance. The risk, a trade war that destabilizes economies and fractures NATO's unity, while rivals like China and Russia stand to gain. Europe faces a stark choice: capitulate, retaliate, or chart a new path towards strategic autonomy. Greenland, meanwhile, navigates the crossfire, seeking prosperity without losing sovereignty. As the Arctic melts, old alliances are tested and new power struggles emerge, reshaping the global order for years to come.